right, good afternoon, students, and thank you for those of you that are joining us this afternoon. Um, we will be going over some topics for the upcoming BJC General Science exam. Today's lesson is basically going to be a review of the introduction topics from grade 7. So getting you guys familiar with some of the vocabulary from that very first couple of weeks of school when you would have entered grade 7 and you would have entered into your general science class. So for the first part of our session, we are going to familiarize ourselves with the definitions for science and technology, and we are going to explain how science and technology are related. All right. If you have any questions at any time, or if I ask a question you want to answer, we do have the chat feature open, so you guys can just go ahead and type to me in the chat. All right. Hello, Nevaeh. I do see you here. All right. So moving along now. So, what is science? Of course, when we enter into junior high school, one of the first things that your science teacher should have asked you was, what is science? And scientifically speaking, we can define science as the process of obtaining knowledge. Simply put, one simple sentence, science is the process of obtaining knowledge. And there are various ways in which we can obtain this knowledge in science. So this knowledge can be obtained by investigating, so conducting investigations. You can also obtain knowledge by making observations using your senses, your eyes, your ears, your nose, all these different sense organs we have to make observations. You can ask questions in order to obtain information, and you can test things out through experimenting. So when we say that science is the process of obtaining knowledge, the way in which we obtain this knowledge is through investigations, observations, questioning, and experimenting. And of course, in science, we study both living and non-living things. Now, when it comes to technology, what is technology? Well, once you would have already obtained your information, your knowledge through the scientific process, technology is now the application. You're going to apply what you know, what you've learned. All right. So technology is the application of scientific knowledge to help make life easier. In other words, technology exists because human beings would have created um, different things, different devices, different equipment in order to help make our lives easier. All right. So we said that science is the process of obtaining knowledge. Technology is applying that knowledge now in order to help make our lives a bit easier. And if you have any questions as I'm going along, students, please feel free to type to me in the chat. And if you wish, I don't know if you guys have the feature on your devices. If you want to screenshot anything, you can go ahead and take screenshots of your screen as well. Okay. So we're going to watch this very brief video on technology, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it afterwards.
Today we are going to answer the question, what is technology? When you think of technology, what do you think of? A telephone? A camera? But what about a table or a chair? Would you consider that technology? Let's investigate to find out. In the dictionary, technologies are things created by humans that can make our lives easier or solve problems. All humans have basic needs, such as getting water and food and having a shelter. Technology is a way to make this easier. Instead of going down to the lake to get water, humans invented a way to bring it straight to our homes with indoor plumbing. Some technologies have wires and plug into the wall, like microphones. Microphones help to record sound. Laptops help us get information, type papers, talk to friends, and much more. But some technologies do not have wires at all. Umbrellas help to keep us dry in the rain, and a lock helps to keep our things safe. A pencil helps us write down information, and a fork helps us to eat food. So let's go back to our first question. Is a chair and a table a technology?
Created using Powtoon.
All right, so let me ask you, students, the two students that are here, is a chair and a table technology? What do you think? Type to me in the chat based on what you would have watched in the video just now. Is a chair and a table technology? Okay, so I have Trinique, yes. What about you, Lanique? What do you think? Is a chair and a table considered technology? Yes, and of course, tables, chairs, you would have even seen simple devices such as a fork that we use to eat our food, a pencil we use to write with. All of these things are considered technology because they were created by someone in order to help make a job easier, to make our lives a bit easier. All right. So how are science and technology related? How do these two things relate to each other? So like we said earlier, we use the scientific information that we obtain in order to create technology. So we use science and we apply it when we're creating technology, which can help us solve problems and to make our lives a bit easier. All right. So when it comes to technology, most of the times when we think about technology, we think about computers, we think about cell phones, and so on, a lot of wired devices. But technology is not limited to these things. Like we saw in the video, something as simple as a lock to keep on your bicycle or a lock on your locker is technology. Anything that was made by man or humans, I should say, to help make life a little bit easier is considered technology. So we have our first checkpoint of the afternoon. So for this checkpoint, I would like for you guys to go to kahoot.it. I'm going to stop sharing this screen for just 1 second. I'm going to go there myself. By the way, since only two of y'all here, Lanique and Trinique, do y'all want to tell me what school y'all came from? You can just type to me in the chat. Okay, San Salvador Central High, excellent. Okay, Huntley Christie, excellent. All right, so if you go to www.kahoot.it and type in the code that you see on the screen, I can also put it in the chat for you guys. If it's easier, you can just click on the link I sent in the chat to get into the game. Welcome back, Nevaeh. I don't know if you are able to get on. See if you can get on with the link I sent in the chat. Awesome. So again, it's our first checkpoint. Just want to keep you guys on your toes as we're going through this information, just to make sure you know that you are understanding what it is that we're discussing in these sessions. So let us begin. All right. Is this technology? Is this technology? Yes or no? And the answer is yes. Excellent. All three of you. That is technology. A refrigerator is definitely something that was created by man in order to help, keep our foods cool and fresh. So it is considered technology. All right. Next question, number 2. Which of the following is not a skill used to obtain information in science? So which one of these is not a skill that we use to obtain information in science? Is it experimenting, asking questions, being computer literate, or conducting investigations? 2 seconds, 1 second, quickly. All right, and the correct answer is being computer literate. That was not one of the skills that we use to obtain information. We can ask questions, we can experiment, we can conduct investigations, but not being computer literate. All right, next question. Is this technology? Is this technology? Yes or no? And that is not technology. Excellent job. That is a waterfall, something that is found naturally in nature, created by God. It was not created by man. So it is not technology. Number 4, is this technology? Yes or no? Is this technology? Everybody got that one right as well. A sink is technology. It helps us to bring water into our homes. It was definitely created by man, and so it is technology. Number 5, anything that was created by humans to help make life easier is called what? Anything that was created by humans to help make life easier is called technology. Very good. Number 6, is this technology? Is this technology? Absolutely not. That is a living organism. That is not technology. Number 7, the process of obtaining knowledge is called what? The process of obtaining knowledge is called what? Ooh, everybody chose a different answer. So the correct answer is science. Science is the process of obtaining knowledge through various skills like we talked about, like experimenting, investigating, asking questions, and so on. So the correct answer there was science. Very good job. Lanique, I know you got that one right. Last question. Is this technology? Is this technology? And that is technology. It is a pencil, something that was created to help make our life simpler when it comes to writing information down. So that was technology. All right. That's our first checkpoint. Good job. I'm not going to show you all the scores for that one. We're going to just go on to our second part of our lesson. Okay, give me 1 second. I can share the screen again. All right, so now moving along. So that was just, a little intro to the term science and technology. Now we're going to go a bit deeper into this introduction, and we're going to talk about the different branches of science. Some of this, like I said, should be familiar to y'all. Y'all would have gotten this in grade 7. All right, so in this part of our session, we're going to describe the 3 main branches of science. We're going to list and describe the various sub-branches that come under each of these main branches of science. And then we're going to categorize each sub-branch of science into one of the 3 main branches. Does anybody know what are the 3 main branches of science before I even tell you? Does anybody know? If y'all would like, y'all can open up your mic for this session because there's only a couple of us here today. But when we have more students joining, it'll be easier to just type in the chat.
Physical, earth science, and life science.
Excellent. So it is physical science, earth science, and life science. Very good job, Nevaeh. All right. So like we said, science. Sorry, let me let the student in class. So science is divided into 3 main branches. And like we said, like Nevaeh just told us, those 3 branches are physical science, earth science, and life science. So under physical science, what is it exactly do we study in physical science? In physical science, we study non-living things and energy and the changes that happen to them. So in physical science, we're studying a lot of non-living matter and energy, like heat energy, light energy, electrical energy, non-living matter such as chemicals and forces and so on and so forth. And under physical science, we have some sub-branches, which include physics, chemistry, and astronomy. So in physics, this is the study of matter, forces, and energy and their relationship. So in physics, we study matter, we study forces, we study energy and how they are related. All right, in physics, we study subjects such as gravity, electricity, heat, light, sound, and time. In chemistry, we study chemicals or substances and how they react with each other. So again, in chemistry, this branch of science deals with chemicals and substances and how they change and react with one another. And thirdly, the last sub-branch of physical science we have is astronomy. In astronomy, we study the stars, we study outer space, the planets, the galaxies, and the universe beyond the Earth. All right, so notice all of these different sub-branches are dealing with non-living matter or energy, okay? Because that's what physical science is all about, studying non-living matter, non-living things, and energy. Then we have our earth science. In earth science, we study the earth and the atmosphere. The sub-branches of earth science include geology, oceanography, paleontology, and meteorology. So the first sub-branch of earth science, geology. Simply put, geology is the study of rocks. That's what we study in geology, the study of rocks. Oceanography is the study of the ocean, a lot of the marine life that lives in the ocean. That's what we study in oceanography. Then we have paleontology. Paleontology is the study of fossils. Fossils are the remains of plants and animals that lived a very, very, very long time ago. So that's what a fossil is. It's a remain of a plant or animal that lived a very, very long time ago. And lastly, we have meteorology. And meteorology is the study of the weather and the climate. So again, in earth science, we study the earth and the atmosphere. This would include various branches such as geology, which studies rocks, oceanography, which studies the ocean, paleontology, which studies fossils, and meteorology, which studies the weather. Now on to our last branch of science, which is what? What's the third one we missing?
Health science.
Not health. We did physical science. We did earth science.
Life science.
The life science, all right? The one that deals with life, living organisms. So in life science, we study living things, living organisms. And this particular branch of science has a lot of sub-branches, some of which include biology, botany, zoology, ecology, anatomy, taxonomy, and genetics. So these are some, not even all, of the sub-branches of life science. So biology is the study of living organisms and their structures. So when we study biology, we study a living organism and the structure or body of the living organism, as well as their behavior and their environment. In botany, we study plants, all about plants. In zoology, we study animals. In ecology, ecology combines the study of living things along with how they are behaving in their environment. So ecology goes into a little bit more detail. It's not just studying living things. Ecology, persons who study ecology, they want to study the living organism and how they are behaving in their surroundings. So that's what ecology is. Anatomy. Anatomy is the study of body parts and their function. So persons who study anatomy, they look at the body, all of the various body organs and body parts and what these parts do for the organism. Then we have a branch of science called taxonomy. And in taxonomy, we study how to classify or group organisms. So organisms are placed in groups based on their similar characteristics. And we do this through a process of taxonomy by classifying or grouping them. And then lastly, our last example is genetics. Genetics is the study of our genes, which is our genetic information, and how these genes are passed down from generation to generation, or from our parents to us, to our children, and so on and so forth. All right, so again, in life science, this is all about studying life, all about studying things that are living. That's what we study in life science. And in this particular branch, this main branch of science, we look at biology, we look at botany, biology, the study of a living organism and its body and behavior. Botany, the study of plants. Zoology, animals we study. Ecology, the study of living organisms and how they behave in their environment. Anatomy, the study of the body parts and their function. Taxonomy, the study of classifying organisms. And genetics is the study of our genes or our genetic information and how this is passed down through the generations. All right. Anybody have any questions on any of those branches of science or the sub-branches? So now that we're done with that particular area, we have our second checkpoint. So we're going to go right back onto Kahoot, our second checkpoint. So I'm going to put it in the chat. All right, so I would have also put the link in the chat. If it's easier for you to click on the link to get into the game, you can go ahead and do that. Now, I know I didn't show y'all the score last time, but I think, who was it who came out on top? I think Lanique came out on top last time. Let's see if we're going to have a repeat or if we're going to have a new leader for this particular one. All right, excellent. All three of you are in. Good job. Under which branch of science do we find biology? Under which branch of science do we find biology? And the correct answer is life science. Life science. Remember, biology is the study of living organisms, so it is life science. Next one, we have, which of the following is not a main branch of science? Which of the following is not a main branch of science? And everybody got that one correct. Mental science is definitely not a main branch. Earth sciences, physical sciences, life sciences, but not mental science. Next one. The study of the weather and climate is called, the study of the weather and climate is called what? Those persons that just joined, if you are able to get into the game, good afternoon. If you're able to get into the game, you are more than welcome to still join. All right, so the study of the weather and climate is called meteorology. Meteorology, all right? Number 4, the study of non-living things and energy. The study of non-living things and energy is which branch of science? Non-living things and energy. Okay, so that is physical science. Remember, in physical science, we study non-living matter and all of the different energy types that exist. All right, number 5. The study of animals is called what? The study of animals. Study of animals is called zoology. Zoology. All right. When we speaking specifically about animals and animals alone, it is zoology. So the person who put biology, biology would be the study of living organisms. So it's not just animals, it's all living organisms. Okay. Good job. Those persons who just joined us. Excellent. Way to go. What do we study in chemistry? What do we study in chemistry? All right, so in chemistry, we study chemicals and how they react with each other. That's what we study in chemistry. Number 7, what do we study in geology? What do we study in geology? All right. Ooh, only 2 of y'all got this one. Okay, so no, sorry, only 1 person got this one. Geology is the study of rocks. It is the study of rocks, all right? So let's see who's on the podium for this checkpoint number 2. We have our newcomer, Miss Hannah Joy. And then we have Lanique in second this time. All right. And in first place, we have Trinique. Awesome job, everybody. Nevaeh, and please forgive me if I pronounce your names incorrectly. I think it was Juliana. Awesome, awesome, awesome job. That's checkpoint number 2. We have one more checkpoint before we leave today. So we're going to go back to the PowerPoint. So I'm going to stop sharing from here. Anybody have any questions so far before I go continue on? All right, so our last bit for this afternoon on the whole introduction to science. Remember, we've been talking all about introduction to science, all about what you would have kind of covered those first couple of weeks in grade 7 when you first got into your general science class. All right, so the last thing that we're going to cover today is on types of scientists. All right, types of scientists. So in this last session, our objectives are going to be, we are going to be able to define, even though I know some of y'all probably already know this. So we're going to refresh ourselves with the definition for a scientist. And then we are going to describe the job of various scientists working in the science field. So that is our objectives for this last part of our session. So who is a scientist? Does anyone want to answer this question? Can you define who is a scientist? If you saw this question on exam, let's say your exam was tomorrow. Your BJC exam was tomorrow, and they asked you who's a scientist, what would you all put? Let's see who's gonna answer me. A scientist is a person who studies science, a person that studies science, okay? A scientist is a person that studies the world around us. Okay, good. Any other answers?
Who a scientist is a person who researches to advance of knowledge.
Okay, so a scientist is a person who researches to advance knowledge. All right, all of those answers are absolutely correct. We can actually just kind of bring it a little bit simpler and say that a scientist is a person that does all of the following, because a scientist is not limited to just one or two things that they do. They are able to do all of the following. So they make observations. Scientists are, the best of the best in making observations. That's what they do on a daily basis. They investigate, they ask questions, they make predictions. Do you know what a prediction is? What's a prediction? Anyone knows? When I use the word prediction, what does that vocabulary term mean?
Something that comes to pass or the future.
Okay, so I'm making a guess to the future, right? So I don't necessarily know that this is going to happen, but I'm making an educated guess as to whether or not it's going to take place. So that's a prediction. A scientist also tests their prediction. They don't just make a prediction. They make a prediction and then they test their prediction by conducting different experiments. So they experiment a lot to test out whether or not their prediction was true or false. And of course, scientists use a lot of different scientific tools to help them in their experimenting, investigating, and making observations. They use a lot of scientific tools to help them with these different skills. All right. So when you're asked who is a scientist, yes, is a person who studies science, is a person who obtains knowledge, is a person who studies the world around us, but it's a person that has various skills. And these skills are what I just talked about. They have the skills of making observations. They have the skill of investigating. They have the skill to ask the necessary questions. They make predictions. They test their predictions through experimenting, and they use scientific tools in their experiments to help them solve whatever problem it is that they are trying to solve. Now, one thing you're going to notice as we talk about the various scientists in the field of science is that the name of each different type of scientist usually ends with an IST. And you're going to see that a lot as we go through. But however, there are a few exceptions where the name does not end with an IST, it ends with something else. But most of the times you will see that the name of a scientist is going to end with the letters I, S, or T, IST. So a zoologist, if you remember what we just talked about in the branches of science, you would kind of have an understanding of what a zoologist does. So this particular scientist studies zoology. And so they're studying animals and how these animals are behaving in their environment. So that's a zoologist. Zoologist studies zoology, which is simply the study of animals. Then we have the botanist. A botanist is a scientist that studies the branch of science called botany. And so in botany, botanists are studying plants. All right, they trying to find out everything they can about plants. So they studying all about plants. That's what a botanist does. Then we have biologists. So a biologist would study what branch? Y'all tell me. A biologist is going to study what? Let's see. A biologist is going to study. Oh, you're very close, Trinique. Biology.
Bio,
Excellent. Thank you so
a
much.
biologist.
A biologist studies biology. And so what they're going to be studying is the body and structure of living organisms. All right. So a biologist studies the body structure, behavior, and origin of all living organisms, whether it's an animal, a plant, or a microorganism like bacteria. In biology, a biologist is going to study all living organisms and their different structures. Then we have the geologist. The geologist is the scientist that is going to be studying geology, which we already said earlier is the study of rocks. So a geologist studies rocks, the earth, and various earth processes like earthquakes and volcanoes, of course, which all comes from different associations with the rock. All right. So when it comes to the scientist, a geologist, and y'all take note, did I not tell y'all all these scientists can be ended with IST for the most part? So notice we already had our zoologist, our botanist, our biologist, and now we have our geologist, all ending with the IST. All right. And number 5, we have our meteorologist. A meteorologist is a scientist that studies the branch of science we call meteorology. And like we said earlier, meteorology is the study of the weather and the climate. Number 6, we have a chemist. A chemist studies chemistry. All right. And in chemistry, we study chemicals and how they behave with one another. Then we have an astronomer. Ooh, so we have our first scientist now that does not end with the IST. So we don't say astronomist, we say astronomer. An astronomer is the scientist that studies astronomy. So in astronomy, this particular scientist is going to study the outer space, the stars, the planets, the galaxies, and the whole entire universe that is beyond the Earth. So, like I said, take note that the ending of astronomer is with an ER and not IST. So please don't say astronomist. It is called an astronomer. Number 8, we have a paleontologist. A paleontologist studies paleontology. And in paleontology, like we said earlier, they study fossils, which are the remains of very old living organisms, plants and animals, very, very old remains, bones of plants, of animals, sorry, or remains of plants. Then we have number 9, we have a taxonomist. A taxonomist is the scientist that is responsible for studying taxonomy. A taxonomist sorts, groups, and names organisms. That's what they're going to do. They're going to sort, they're going to classify, they're going to name different organisms depending on their characteristics. Then we have a physicist. A physicist is a scientist that studies the branch of science we call physics. A physicist studies energy, forces, and so on. So this particular scientist, they are going to be studying all those different energy types we mentioned earlier, like heat. They're going to study electricity. They're going to study light. They're going to study sound. They're going to study the forces, like friction and gravity and air pressure and water pressure and so on and so forth. Then we have an oceanographer. An oceanographer is a type of scientist that studies oceanography. An oceanographer will study the marine life of plants and animals in the ocean. Take note again of the ending of oceanographer. It is with the ER and not the IST like we've been seeing for the most part. Number 12, we have an archaeologist. An archaeologist is a scientist that studies the branch of science called archaeology. And remember, we said in archaeology, this particular person is going to study the bones of humans that have lived a long, long time ago. So don't get confused with archaeology and paleontology. Paleontology studies the fossils of animals and plants. Archaeology studies the bones of particularly humans that lived a long time ago. Then we have a geneticist. A geneticist is a scientist that studies genetics. And like we said, genetics is the study of our genes, our DNA, and how these genes are passed down through our family, through generations and generations. So trying to understand, well, how do we get certain genes for our eye color and so on and so forth, okay? Then we have a pharmacist. A pharmacist is a scientist that studies the branch of science we call pharmacology. A pharmacist studies how drugs affect the body. So pharmacist deals with medicine, how different medication or different drugs will affect the body. Then we have number 15, and, and we have the anatomist, which is a scientist that studies the branch of science called anatomy. And in anatomy, these scientists will study the human body, its parts, and how all of these parts work to carry out various processes in the human body. All right, so we have a lot of different scientists, students. So just keep in mind that I'm going through just a few of them, but there are so many more scientists than what I'm going to go through with you guys. Number 16, we have an ecologist. This particular type of scientist studies ecology. In ecology, they will study living organisms and how these living organisms interact with other living organisms and their environment. Any questions on any of these? I would have told the students who came earlier, if you wanted to screenshot anything from the slides, you are more than welcome to screenshot. If you have the ability on your devices to screenshot, you are more than welcome to screenshot anything that you would like from the slides as I go through them, okay? So that brings us to our wrap up of our introductory topics. So getting you guys familiar with those vocabulary terms that were introduced to you all from the first few weeks of school when you entered junior high school. And so we're going to have our third checkpoint. And when I see you guys again in our next session, we're going to go into some more meatier topics for science. I'm going to probably stick with the grade 7 and 8 topics because I think most of you should be, in grade 9 or grade 10 where you would have been exposed more to the ninth grade topics more recently. So let's do our third and final checkpoint for this afternoon. I'm going to send a link in the chat in just a moment. So I put the link in the chat, students. You can click on the link to enter, or you can go to www.kahoot.it and you can join the game using the game pin 275615. All right, so let's see who is going to be on the top of our leaderboard for this very last checkpoint. I should have 10 of y'all in this. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, a couple persons still ain't in yet. It's a very quick one, only 5 questions, so you don't have much room to improve on your score, so you gotta get it on the first go. All right, I think there are 2 more persons who still ain't in yet. All right, so we're gonna just go ahead and start. Checkpoint number 3 on Introduction to Science. All right, Basil Dean is a famous weatherman here in the Bahamas. What is Mr. Dean's job title? So he's a famous weatherman. So what would be his job title? Okay, most persons would have gotten that correct. He is a meteorologist. The key term in the question, the little clue, it says he is a famous weatherman. And so if he is dealing with the weather, he has to be a meteorologist. Very good. Number 2, a scientist who studies the stars, planets, and galaxies is called... Man, some of y'all getting in so quick. My goodness. Y'all just punching these answers in quick. All right, so a scientist who studies the stars, planets, and galaxies is called an astronomer. Very good. I should have put one trick one in there. I should have put astronomist for y'all. Let's see if y'all picked that one. Number 3, a scientist that studies bones that lived a long time ago is called... Studying bones that lived a long time ago. And the answer is an archaeologist. Very good. Those persons that would have gotten it correct, the 6 of you. Archaeologist studies bones that lived a long time ago. A scientist is a person who... All right, a scientist is a person who... all of the above. They make observations, they use science tools to experiment, they conduct investigations. So it should have been all of the above. All right. Question number 5, the final question. This one is going to be for the podium. All right. So, which scientist studies the marine life of plants and animals in the ocean? All right. And the correct answer was oceanographer. An oceanographer would be the scientist that studies oceanography, which of course is the study of the ocean and all of the plant and animal life that lives in the ocean. So let's see who made it to our podium for this third and final checkpoint for this afternoon. In third place, we have Miss Hannah Joy. In second place, we have Trinique. And coming out on top of this final checkpoint, we have Naya. I am assuming that's Janaya Russell. All right, our runners-up, we have, I think it was Savannah and Lanique. Awesome, awesome, awesome job, students.